Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a flower cane using some of the leftover clay from our previous tutorials. So here's the leftover clay from my black rose cane, and then I have the leftover clay from my turtle shell cane. So some purple and some more green. Any leftover clay will work with this, but these are the ones that I am using today. If you're looking to do the same thing as I'm doing today, you need two leftover piles that are basically the same colour, so basically mostly green, those two, and then you need a leftover pile that is mostly purple, with one of the piles having a little bit of purple in it as well. So those are the leftovers that we're going to be using. Then you also need some black and white. This is a great time to use some of your scrappy white that has imperfections in it, such as hairs or maybe little marks, things like that. Same with the black. Unfortunately, I do not have that in black at the moment, so I'm just using a square of black. So what we need to do with the black and white before we can move on to the leftover clay is we need to take this and we need to start chopping this up into pieces like so, and you'll repeat with the black as well. You just want to chop it up like so, so that you have chunky pieces that you can mix in together with some of the black. So that's probably enough for the white. I'll repeat with the black quickly, like so. And just grab your white, and I just want you to kind of disperse that out evenly so that you've got an even amount of white mixed with black. Roughly, anyway. If you have black and white scraps, you can replace this with the black and white scraps, so long as they're not too muddy and mixed together. Okay, now just squish that together. There we go. Alright, now we are ready to start working. So I'll put this to the side. We're going to start with our first layer, which I think will be this one. So this is fine the way it is. Not going to chop it up. It's chunky enough. We're going to be reducing it down quite a bit, so we want chunky leftovers. We don't want something that's already been screwed up into almost a solid colour. So right now I'm just pressing it all together into a somewhat solid ball. You will repeat with all the other leftovers, and then just take a roller of yours and just start rolling it out. Okay, and I want to keep it in a tube almost, I guess, what you could call it. Not a tube, a slab. Nice long slab, like so. Okay, and once I've got it into something that looks like that, then I'll repeat with all of the others. Right, so also with the black and white, you want to separate it out into two and then make two logs of those. Now we're going to grab this, then we're going to put that next to it. That one. Oops. Then we need to put a white and black one down there, and then this one. Okay. So that's the order that I want to put them in. Now it's a little thick to go through the pasta machine, so what we're going to do is we're just going to start squishing it together so that they at least stick to one another. Like so. And then use your roller to start stretching it out and thinning it out. Press together and roll. And just repeat until you can then roll this through your pasta machine, lengthening these out. Okay, and here it is run out on the machine. So each of these ends needs to get trimmed off, and you can put that back into your scraps and you can use that at another time. And I'm going to repeat on this end as well. trim off that. Right, so now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to run this out down to 1 millimeter thick. It's 2 millimeters thick at the moment, but I want to run it out again. There we are. Right. Then I want you to take it, and I want you to cut it into strips. Then take those strips, place it down, cut again, lay the strip down, and just repeat that up the length of your sheet. Okay, and here is what you should end up with roughly. So now I'm going to be making the darker section over here the point of our petal, and this section is going to be the top. So first what you want to do is you just want to start curling this in, pressing it all together. And I'm going to reduce it before I actually turn it into a petal shape, because it's much easier to reduce when it is in this rectangular form rather than when it goes into the petal form. Just start reducing this down. And it shouldn't take you too long. Okay, and here we are. Now what we're going to do, now that it's reduced, is we're just going to gently stop pressing this into a point. And all you're going to do is you're going to press down on these corners so that you round them out. And you'll do that along the whole length first. Then you'll go back and you start pinching so that you start forming a peak. But don't pinch too hard to start with. And that should do for the moment. I'm going to pop that onto its side and start pressing from the side, and this will give us a more pointy peak. And swap to the other side, press from that side as well. And that will start giving us our peak. Right, and then also you want to press on these corners over here so that you start rounding the top out. Like so. Flip to the other side and round that out. And then I'll go along the length. I'm just going to start pressing so that I round out this and so that I create a sharper point on this side. So I've got my hands like this, and then I've got my hands like this on this side, so hopefully you can see that. And that will just create the final shape of our petal. Just do that across the entire length. And then you should end up with your petal shape. Okay, there we go. Then I'm just gently going to rub along this end to just make that round nice and smooth. Repeat on this side. And then I'll do one final press along this side and the other side just to make sure that that point is nice and sharp. The sharper is the better. Okay, there we go, and that should work. Now I want to cut it in half. You can see the petal there. And then I want to cut it in 3. I'll just trim off those ends. Cut into 3. And now we have our petals. that we're going to fit together. Just a minute. Put them to the side. We're now going to create our centre, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some white clay and some black clay and roll them out into a sheet. There we go. Now we don't need to be too precise with this. Just stack that like so, press it together. And then just roll it up. And this is going to be our centre cane. And I'll just reduce it down. Okay. Now trim off these ends. You can use those in other leftover clay tutorials. Okay, and it's quite soft, so you can see it doesn't slice as nicely as it could. Okay, and now I'm busy debating on whether when I put them together I want to actually put a border around them to define each of the petals. Okay, I've decided I don't want to do that. Okay, now I just need to press these a little bit more so that they're a little fatter, because they're a little tall and so they're not going to form half of the flower as much as I want. There we go. Just press on that and that will make it fatter. And this you can use any leftover clay for. I'm just using the ones that I have at the moment, but any leftover clay will work for this technique. And I'm just making sure that I press them together like so. And I'm just going to make this a little bit thinner. So it fits in there like so. Then I'll repeat with this end. Okay. Then the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to take a skewer. We're just going to press in there to make sure that there is a hole for our centre to sit in. The other side around it. Then I'm just gently going to press on these petals to make sure that they all sit together properly. Before we start packing it. So this is your final chance to mould them into the correct shape. And I'm pretty happy with how they look. Now I'm going to go grab some translucent so that I can start packing this so we can reduce it. Okay, and here I have a log. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to start pinching that like so. So that I have a nice triangle for my packing. Okay, and the triangle needs to be a little bit shorter. Okay, I'm just going to cut off that in half. Now I like to work with fairly soft translucent so that it molds into the right shape pretty easily. Okay, and I've pressed it in, and what I'm doing is I'm gently smoothing it around the sides here. There, so that it creates a round. And then I'll repeat with the other side. Okay. Now all we're going to do is we're just going to take some translucent, and we are going to apply that across our cane. Okay, there we go. And lastly, I just want to take strips of translucent and just apply them into here. And you'll do that with each of those little areas, and then we can start reducing. Okay, now just start reducing. And I like to just reduce these ends a little bit first, and then I will proceed to the middle, because generally the ends will start to distort a little bit, so I like to almost kind of make a wrapped candy shape with my canes, so that we get minimal distortion on these ends. And then I reduce the middle. Because the clay is fairly soft, it shouldn't take too long to reduce. Now this is a lot of clay, obviously, but you can use less clay if you want, completely up to you. I just find that it's easier to make canes that are larger in size because they reduce better. And also it's easier to just get the shapes all correct. And anyway, it is all leftover clay. You hardly use any translucent in the actual packing. Okay. I don't want to reduce it too much more until I take a nice cut out of it to see what it looks like. Now I've just got some air bubbles here that I just want to tend to. Just take a slice, smooth out, slice, smooth out. And that should take care of the air bubbles. Now I'm just going to take a slice each side, and there you can see how that looks. And now it's a little soft, so you're going to get a little bit of distortion, but basically that is what the cane's going to look like. So I'm just going to continue reducing it a bit. Don't want to reduce it too much more, and then I'm going to let it rest, and then you'll be able to see what it looks like when it is done. It's very simple. So let me actually cut that in half. And there we go, that one came out nicely. It didn't distort too much. So that's basically what the flower will look like. It's still a leftover flower, obviously, but you can use this in different projects. Grungy, graffiti sort of projects would work quite well with a flower like this. Maybe paired up with something like Swelligant or Rust, it would actually look quite nice as an accent. So play around with it. Depending on what colours you use in your project, you're going to end up with different effects. And so that's basically how you make a leftover flower cone. So I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial. If it was helpful to you, let me know in the comments below. Keep in mind this is leftover clay. You can use the exact same technique with non-leftover clay and it will come out less muddy. And you are going to end up with some leftovers still from this project. Pop that back into your leftover box and we can use that in a future tutorial. So anyway, if this was helpful to you, let me know in the comments below. And if you would like to support this channel so that I can put up videos every single week, please do consider becoming a patron. I show tutorials that are exclusive to Patreon and Etsy on there every single month. You also have coupon codes to my Etsy store. You get early access to tutorials and a bunch of different stuff. So please do consider becoming a patroness. It's very helpful to me. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.